Hooray for Gretchen.
You're good to go, Lois.
All right. Welcome to the March 9th meeting of the Salem Library Advisory Board. We're happy to have everybody here. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I had one addition to the minutes. Sarah Clovis Bishop was not listed on the members present. Did anybody else have anything? I did let Clarissa know. Anybody else have anything? Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes. Francine, do you so move?
I so move that we approve the minutes from the most previous meeting.
Thank you, Francine. I need a second.
I second.
Gretchen will second. All in favor, do a thumbs up or something. Yay, yay. Okay, all right. We have approved the minutes. Was there any public comment sent in or?
We didn't receive any public comment for this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Clarissa. Do we have someone from the Teen Advisory Board? Is that Samantha? Okay, take it away, Samantha.
Okay. Hi, I'm Samantha. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a freshman at the Early College High School. At our February meeting, the Teen Advisory Board discussed the fine-free proposal and voted to support that proposal as it is taken to the Salem City Council. TAB members volunteered quite a bit in February and so far in March, packing take and make kits. 200 felt sushi kits went out in February. Now we are almost done packing 200 Bendy Friends for spring break kits that will be available beginning next week. This will also be a fun challenge for people to send in pictures of their Bendy Friends doing spring break activities with a prize drawing at the end. We also completed an entry for the 90-second Newbery contest. The goal is to tell the story of a Newbery Award-winning or honor book in about 90 seconds. We chose The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin as our book and sock puppets made by TAB members as our actors. Sonia will share how that turned out.
All right, I'm going to make sure that that link ends up in your minutes so that you can take a peek at it, or we'll send that link out by email so that you can look at that video if you have a moment.
Okay. Thank you, Samantha. What was the name of the book again that you're making the video about?
The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin.
Okay. Any other questions for Samantha? All right, thanks, Samantha. Way to go. You may leave and have fun. Okay. I am going to play, hopefully, a rap, because we're going to try to have fun, everybody. It's a, I won't play the whole thing. It's a rap about the Dewey Decimal System. And this time I'm going to, I think I know where the microphone is, and I'm going to let you hear this. Okay, ready? Okay. Can you hear it? I think that's enough. Anyway, cool. Nobody can say we are not fun. All righty. CARES report. I wrote one Everybody read it? Any questions? Okay. Any questions for the city librarian's report? Francine, go.
I wondered where comments should be directed regarding the meeting room policy.
To me. You can email me comments.
Okay.
I do have just a couple things on the city librarian's report is that we did offer the SLA position to Katrina, who is one of our part-time. No, she was actually a full-time LA, sorry. And then we are going to have an adult services librarian starting on March 14th. So we're getting fully staffed and it's very exciting.
What does SLA stand for?
Oh, senior library assistant.
Okay. We don't always know those, things, so that's
Sure.
good to know. Any other questions? So, Kim, we did approve the meeting room proposal, I think in June or July. But my understanding was that that was going to be reviewed and maybe revamped. Was that not what happened?
So it has been reviewed and we have made adjustments according to some people's suggestions. For instance, I think, and I wasn't here for when you guys, when you all approved it or recommend or supported it. But one of the things we changed was we changed it from 3 months to 6 months booking out. And then we're changing the price, reducing the prices for commercial use. And then if you're nonprofit or government, it's or nonprofit, non-commercial or government, it's most of the rooms are free.
Could we get, for our next meeting or even before, get a copy of those revisions? Maybe send it out in the next week or so, because then wouldn't it sort of have to be reviewed by us? Because we voted on the other version.
So we actually had it put out as a rule, and there's public comment available until through March 14th. So you can get a copy on our website. You can get a copy at the Ask Here desk at the main library, and you can get a copy at the city manager's review a copy there, but it's on the website under proposed rules.
My pen doesn't work. Okay. Okay, thanks, Kim. Any other questions for Kim? Denise?
I'm curious about the Luke's Auditorium. Is that up and going yet, or will it be? And do we have an event schedule somewhere?
So we are going to open the plan is to open up registration for meeting rooms in April, and then allow people to schedule from May going forward. So Luke's Auditorium would be included in that. So for instance, we already know the Friends of the Library want to have a book sale. So they've booked, I mean, they haven't booked Luke's, but they've booked the Anderson rooms for a book sale in May. And we're putting our programming that we plan to have in those rooms in now, so that people, when they go to book, they'll know that it's not, the space isn't available. And we'll have an online reservation system. So you can both, if you're a commercial group, you can book and pay for your room online.
Nice.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Anything else for Kim? All right. I didn't get a report from Friends of the Library, and I don't know if Carol's here. So we'll skip that. And the foundation report, Gretchen, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, we had a very successful Salem Reads. Thank you, Sonia, very much.
All right. Any questions? Okay.
Lois,
Yes.
I had received an email from Carol stating the only thing she wanted to report to you guys is that the book sale will, Kim already said it, but just to reiterate that the book sale will be in May. She had emailed me. So I did want to share that.
Oh, that's fabulous news. Okay, wonderful. And that will be in the Anderson room, or what used to be the Anderson room. I don't know if it still is. Okay. Right, Kim?
Both of so the Anderson rooms, they'll be combined, they'll be both opened up and they'll have the whole space, and they're going to do it 2 weekends. They've reserved the rooms from May 11th to the 23rd. So those 2 weekends that fall within that range is when they're going to have their book sale.
Great. Thanks, Clarissa, for letting us know that. All right, we are zipping through. Library budget, Norm, the budget man. We got tons of money, right?
You bet, Lois. I have a brief presentation to share just to give everyone a sense of the numbers visually. And I just want to first offer my apologies. I do not have a song, and I should have brought a song, Lois. So I apologize for that. But let me share the screen here and give you hopefully a good sense of what we see in the big picture when we look at the budget. So here we go. I believe I'm sharing the screen now. Can someone let me know? Just unmuted. Oh, thumbs up. Okay, good. All right, here we go. Yeah, the library budget. And what I'm going to be sharing here is the actual budget for the current year, the approved budget. The proposed budget is still in process of being proposed, but as mentioned last time I was here with you, it is a status quo budget. So what you see here in this presentation is, I would say probably 95%, if not greater, of the proportion and magnitude of the budget for the current year that we intend to propose very soon. So, okay, library budget. First, some big picture fundamentals. The total budgeted revenue for the library, because it does receive technically revenue, is $710,000. The total budgeted expenditures are $5,706,290. So it's a $5.7 million operation. And it's certainly worth a lot more than that, but that is the expenditures that we have budgeted. Okay, within the expenditures themselves, which is the main focus, of course, of any budget conversation with the library, we don't focus so much on revenues, which I'm going to bring that more into the conversation tonight. But what we really focus on mostly is in expenditures. And as you can see right away from the very start, take that 5.7 million and dedicate 80% of it, 4.57 million, to our personnel. This is a personnel intensive operation, of course. Libraries need librarians in order to deliver a great service that everyone can then appreciate and utilize to the fullest extent. And so 80% for their benefits, for their salaries, for all that goes into the personnel costs for being a team member here at the city of Salem. After that 80%, approximately 20% of the budget, the rest, is dedicated to materials and service. That's $1.1 million. And so when we talk about occasionally, either in meetings that I have with you or that you have among yourselves about new programs that you want to have or new enhancements that you want to see, be it with buildings or with anything else, it's going to come by and large from that 1.1 million, that 20% remainder, once we have backed out our personnel costs. Another 8.2% of the total is for subscription and books. And so when I say 8.2%, what I mean is that of the 20% of the total, 8.2% of the total is subscription and books. So if you can think about it this way, 80% is for personnel, roughly 12.8% is for all the other stuff, and then 8% is for books and for subscriptions and for the collection. Now, I know that gets a little bit confusing, but what I guess I'm really trying to say here is that of the $5.7 million budget, 8.2% is dedicated to materials and to books and to the collection as a whole. I want to give you a sense of that magnitude because a big punchline here is that there are many more needs for operations than just the typical stuff that we associate with the library, which is the collection. The collection is a very important, critical piece. You can't have a library without it, but you also can't have a library without all the other things that go into the costs, that additional 13% of materials and services, that additional bulk of the 1.1 million for operations. You can't really have the collection delivered effectively, at least with our current model, than with all these other commitments. And so let me drill into that a little bit. For example, small equipment and supplies, just the stuff to keep the operation running, that's $204,000 of the total material and services budget. Professional services for contractors like landscapers or for facility improvements, or even for consultants and the studies and the effort that we're going to undertake soon with the strategic plan. That's another 158,000 in the given year. Staff supplies for everything from these wonderful displays that we see that get constructed by staff to, oh, I don't know, the really cool handouts. That there was something that they did a few months ago that involved like felt and cotton and putting together these very adorable figurines that were handed out to people. That comes out of this 83,000 as well. So that again, whether it be programs or services or maintenance or things of that nature, that comes out of that 1.1 million as well. So again, 80% of the budget is personnel. 8.2% is the collection that we all very much cherish and get to enjoy. I, as a regular borrower of these materials, you too. And then the rest of it goes to all the other ins and outs of the operation. That small equipment and supplies, by the way, that might also account for some of our computer needs that we have, whether it be for service itself or for direct points of access for our patrons at the library. Oh, and gasoline. Hey, we even go so deep into this budget that we'll even budget the gasoline costs for a given year. And right now we're at about 40% of our current spending. We've spent about 40% of that budget, I should say. And let me tell you, we're a little bit worried too about gas, because that 350 that could go, that could really, we could really see some pressure there as these costs rise. Every single line item, we're sensitive to it, we watch it, we monitor it, we budget accordingly as best we can, and every single bit of that gets used. So it goes pretty deep and pretty detailed to even relatively small amounts of money compared to the whole. Okay, we all occasionally get this very, very good set of information from all sorts of resources, whether it be from the state library, from community stakeholders who provide their insights, like Jim Shepke's report that he'll occasionally provide. We also get some comparable information from other sources as well. And all of it shows a very eye-opening picture about how we stack up with other libraries in terms of service, in terms of branches, staffing, all manner of things. But I wanted to bring in the revenue piece again tonight, because this is an important piece that I think about quite a bit, and that I don't know that I've ever really talked about in any sort of forum, but it's been on my mind since, I don't know, about 3 months into getting here, trying to make sense of all of these comparable measures and the story that they definitely indicate. Okay, so the punchline here on this slide is comparable city libraries have incomparable revenue. Now that's a weirdly worded phrase, I suppose, but I really want to look at two particular city libraries that we compare to, not district libraries, not county systems, and not libraries from say a place like Eugene that is very, very different in terms of their fiscal situation compared to us. Okay, so I want to look instead at Hillsborough City Library and Beaverton City Library, and I want to talk a little bit about their revenue as well as the general fund contributions that they receive compared to us using the same year budget, this year active adopted budget. So this is a big, busy slide, but I'm going to point out just a couple of things here, and then encourage anyone, if you want to have a copy of this, to go and visit the actual Hillsborough city budget itself. There's a page here that you can't really read. but I just show it to promise you that I looked at it. And this page is page 209 of the Hillsborough City Budget PDF on the link that's provided here in the actual slide. Okay, so Hillsborough, it's a $12.8 million operation. That's over double what our operation is in terms of the budgeted expenditures. 6.9% comes from their general fund. That's what the GF stands for. That's 65% of the total budget. That's technically we would consider that revenue in the budgeting parlance. And so they get 6.9 million. That again is more than what we are able to spare here in the city of Salem. But they also receive 5.8 in a contribution from a county levy, the Washington County Cooperative Library Services levy, and that's 45% of their total revenue. So ordinarily, without what is basically a very, very successful county levy, and I'm using the term colloquially here. I think there's a more technical term for this, but I just wanted to give a picture. Their county contribution, their levy contribution, it's almost half of their total budget that they can then use for their operations. Now, as you can see here by the comparison, we have a great CCRLS district, and we're very grateful for the funds that it does provide us, but it is an apples and oranges comparison. So while we can be comparable in terms of the nature of our service, us being a city library too, us being a city library that is funded primarily through our general fund, we cannot compare really in any fair assessment when we look at their contributions that they receive outside the general fund and what we receive. This is not a criticism of CCRLS, not in the slightest, but it's just to show that our reality is a little bit different when it comes to the budget side of things. We deliver 5.1 million in general fund allocation, so that's 90% of the total operating budget, and we get about 10% budgeted in the current year, about $587,000 from CCRLS. Okay, let's look at Beaverton. Beaverton's a slightly different, but basically the same story. This is page fund of the Beaverton Library Fund budget for this current year. And as you can see, I've summarized the basics of their budget. It's a $10.6 million operation. 4.1 million comes from their general fund. Hey, we beat that. You know, I'm proud of this. You know, we can't do a lot, but we are doing more with our general fund for our library than Beaverton is. And so I find pride in that. Okay. They also received 6.3 million from that same levy for the Washington County area. And so again, compare that to the city of Salem and it's a different story. Now, Deschutes is a district library. It's a little bit different. So I didn't bring that for simple comparison tonight. I also didn't want to bring Multnomah County because it's a different system too when it comes to that revenue picture. Eugene is a bit different too because of their revenue picture. And frankly, I just didn't have the time to analyze those things as much as I would like to see what the proportionate share per capita is for them compared to us. But I guess what I really want to say with this overall picture, and this is a very big, simple gloss overview of the budget, is that so much, and I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen now. Let's see here. Let's see how I can do this. Okay, stop sharing. There we go. Okay, so the big overhead view of what I want to share here, and I can provide this file to anyone who wants it, is that we have a great budget for what we can provide from our general fund. CCRLS gives what they can based on a very activity-driven allocation, meaning based on how much we're able to borrow and lend in the system. These other places, like the ones chosen here from Washington County, the nearest neighbors, you know, it's a very different system. If we look at what the general fund commitment is of our city compared to, say, those cities, or maybe compared to some others here in the area, I think we'd find that we do a good job in supporting things as best we can, despite all of our other broader constraints. And if we want to see growth, in operation and budget and resources, it's going to have to come from somewhere else, because again, this is a status quo budget this coming year. because in this coming year, we have many, many needs that are unmet. And that includes not only things that might be part of a vision for the rest of the City of Salem Library, but also things that are a part of an imperative vision, of course, for all of our other services. So 5.7 million, 80% dedicated to personnel. The remainder, we put as much of it as we can into our actual collection. But there are other needs as well, whether it be, again, stuff like small equipment, stuff like professional services, stuff like gasoline. We monitor it as close as we can. We do the best of it as we can do. Kim can speak to some of this. She's had to do this from day one of arriving here at the city and trying to make trade-offs and figure out some difficult choices on what to do and what not to do with the limited funds that she's got. But I think it is hopefully an expansion on the view that you may have for the budget. I hope this is informative. I can answer any questions that you have. I might not be able to answer them in a very satisfactory sense because, you know, we're very much in a preliminary phase with our current budget. But yeah, with that said, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Norm. That was very informative. I have a few questions, but someone else want to go first? Okay, then I will. So this is kind of a dire situation, in my opinion. I mean, why do we get so little from CCRLS? Norm or Kim or whoever wants to answer that.
Go ahead, Kim.
So when you look at Washington County, you're looking at cities that are populated in very different ways than CCRLS is. We are the biggest city in CCRLS, right? And a lot of the libraries are rural libraries. So, you know, you have the population density. So you're going, if you're basing the income you get on property tax values, not only is there more population in Washington County, those property values generally are bigger than what we have. And it's just a matter of simple math in that case, right? So if we consider the population of Hillsborough, if we consider the population of Beaverton, if we consider the population of, you know, you're getting into like places like West Slope in the east and the Southwest Hills, where, you know, you have people that have pretty good incomes and higher property tax values. And so when you're collecting that money, you're going to get more because there's more people out there paying those taxes, right? And the property values are generally higher. You know, we are the biggest library in our system, and we get the most money from CCRLS, but you know, land values are different, population density is different here, and all of that revenue comes from tax valuations, right? So, I mean, right there, you're going to have a big disparity because CCRLS is not Washington County at all.
But why? Okay, I understand that we might not have the same tax base, but why do we get 10% and like Beaverton gets 60%? What if we're the biggest library? Why wouldn't we get?
That's 10% of our budget. That's not 10% of what CCRLS gives us. 10% of our budget comes from CCRLS. 60% of Beaverton's budget or Hillsborough comes from their cooperative. So we are getting more than 10% of what CCRLS gets.
Catherine.
Yeah, I did some initial looking at the way in which CCRLS determines how much each library in the system gets. And of course, it's based on kind of a complicated formula of combination of property tax values and circulation. And as far as I could tell, our library does not get proportionately the amount of money that it should. And I started to pursue that with John Hunter a little bit. And I think that's worth looking into. However, it wouldn't generate a whole lot of additional money, but every little bit helps. And then there's the issue of the fact that Kaiser uses our library, and people in Kaiser, that's a substantial population, don't, for the most part, pay for that service. So is there any way we can look into getting some additional revenue from Kaiser property owners or library users or whatever?
Well, I think there's a lot of possibilities for the future, but you know, right now, I mean, the services that Kaiser residents get are different than the services that Salem residents get. They're basic card holders, while Salem residents are full card holders, meaning they have more access. They have access to our own digital library. They can check out 50 items per card. So it's a lot more robust than what a Kaiser or a basic resident would get. So it's not that they're getting the same services. They are getting reduced services because they don't pay the same, right?
And
They
and I'll
still
just-
get, they can still check out a healthy a number of books. And they do, because when we were trying to get the renovation bond passed and we leafleted, you would not believe how many people come in from Kaiser. And they were like, oh, we don't have to pay, we don't have to worry about the bond because we don't have to pay it anyway. And I was like, wait a minute, you should be passing this bond, like you should be telling your friends to pass this bond because you use our library.
Yeah. I think that this is going to be one of the better conversations in the strategic planning process, because there's a couple of things here in my mind that I think are really important. Number one, we want to celebrate that they use the library, right? We want to get more people, as many as possible, and we want to make that, the best it can be. Okay. At the same time, I totally understand what both of you are saying, Lois and Catherine, about wanting to find a way for the fair share, so to speak, or the equity and the allocations, et cetera, or on and on. The hard thing, as you realize, Catherine, is that this is still a pretty small pie. Even if we were to fight tooth and nail and expend a great deal of capital, political or otherwise, to get more of that pie, it's not going to go far. And to a certain extent, I really, really sympathize deeply with the creative ideas of yesteryear, say for the DVD fee or for certain other methods of trying to charge to try to generate more revenue and try to create another stream. But every single thing that we do along those lines could create another barrier to the access or to the usage. And so I'm only highlighting what I think everyone already knows. I'm only articulating the things I think everyone understands, which is that whatever we want to do to pursue greater resources, especially in the realm of, say, CCRLS or broader cooperative agreements and arrangements in districts or whatever, that's going to have to be something that is a rising tide that can lift every possible boat in the cooperative. And so to the extent that you guys can, I encourage you to please bring these thoughts to the steering committee, to the strategic plan, because there's going to be big visions that people have, and any of those big visions, I think, are going to require some big thoughts and some unique ideas on this very subject.
What are your ideas, Norm?
Oh, I'm asking you all. That's why we're doing the
Oh,
strategic
you're the
plan.
one that's the paid person. I'm not.
Well, sure. Yeah. So here's what it comes down to. The important question isn't where to get money. It's what do we want to do? And within reason, and that is a term of art, within reason. But within reason, knowing our budget realities and knowing that the time frame to see anything akin to a greater share of, say, CCRLS or other revenues is a long way off. What I want is for us to find those creative opportunities to expand our service within current means, while also figuring out ways to expand service outside those means in a realistic fashion, and predicate those things happening on the new revenue. if and when it's ever possible. I don't know that it is. I really don't. We talk about tax base. Let's also consider the fact that there are many, many competing interests out there for more of these kind of revenues, be it the school district or other city needs, or maybe beyond that I'm not even accounting for. A lot of competition. But I guess what I'm trying to say here, Lois, to answer your question is the better
Don't
we
have
can
any ideas.
No, I don't. But the better we have, the better vision we have for what we want to see in the next 5 years with this strategic plan, the better equipped we're going to be to start then strategizing on ways to get the resources for those things. Some of those visions elements are low hanging fruit that we might be able to even do tomorrow, like what you all did last month with Fine Free. That's a watershed moment. And that's something that is going to have a very real impact on the general fund. Don't get me wrong, but it is within reach. And that is a watershed moment. And so moments like those within the strategic plan are going to be crucial, along with whatever else people dare to dream that we can then think about in the context of more revenue and bigger systemic solutions on these cooperatives, these districts, et cetera. So yeah, I'm going all over the place. I'm sorry, but I just want to say again that what you all are doing already with everything from meeting policies that reduce barriers to access to potentially fine free and then other things along the way, those get us moving forward.
Well, Norm, I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire a little bit. So what I hear you saying is like the strategic plan, we should like vision, we should like, dream, and which I want to do. I really want to do. But yet there's all this stuff like we're not really going to get any more revenue and we never will. And you got to have reality and all this stuff. Well, do you consider yourself an advocate for the library?
I'm an advocate for the library. I'm an advocate for the planning group, the code compliance group, the building and safety group, the fire, the police, yeah, all of it. I'm an advocate for the city of Salem. I mean, not to be slippery here, but I'm an advocate for all of those things. In this case, the task at hand, be it for lab or for the strategic planning team, is going to be to temper those dreams with our budget realities, while also trying to find still the stretch goals of what you want to try to achieve. So, whether it be a 5-year vision that includes another branch or a 5-year vision that includes just another service point, which is very different than a branch. One of those is a stretch goal. The other one is a very real possibility if we have a 5-year plan that helps Kim and others align their operation around it. But I guess the thing to keep in mind is that as an advocate of the city as a whole, there's no way that I can ask for more general fund. What we have right now is very competitive and very comparable to our peers, and we do a very good job with it, the best we can. But if the strategic plan shows an imperative for some great big expansion of service, and this is a big if, I kind of hope that we don't go this route, because like you say, what good is it if we can't have the resources to do it? But if for some reason we end up with that as some manner of a stretch goal over the next 5 years, well, it's going to inform another conversation, isn't it? It's going to inform a conversation on other means of revenue that will have to be taken outside of my bailiwick and be part of a broader community conversation. Does that make sense? And so bear in mind that, yes, as an advocate for the city, let me just say again, I cannot propose more general fund allocation. 5.1 is $1 million more than Beaverton. I'm very proud of that. It's right up there close, kind of, with Hillsborough, the peer libraries for a pound for pound per capita size. But in the strategic plan, you all have the ability, the opportunity to figure out some other ways in which we can push the ball forward with these resources.
I'm wondering about maybe putting together an emergency task force about how to raise more revenue. and I could talk to the mayor about that, but I'm not going to ask you about that because I'm just going to do it if I want to do it. So
Well, of
any
course.
other questions? All right. Thanks, Norm.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Can I have a moment to just to touch base about the city librarian recruitment? I just want to make sure that everyone received the email that I sent out. Okay, okay. Some heads nod, maybe some didn't, but
When did you send it?
Today.
Oh, okay.
Today. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that it was received so that we can continue on with the process. So that's all I'll say. But thank you very much. Everyone have a good evening.
A question. Do we get to see the CVs for these three people that are being interviewed?
That's a good question. I'm not sure yet. So let me check with HR about how they want to handle that. We don't have CVs per se, so much as we have other information that could be sensitive. But if we do have those as attachments for all candidates, then I might be able to share it. So good question. I'll see what I can find out with HR.
All right. Are you leaving us, Norm? Thanks
I think
for
I
your,
am.
Thanks for your work. You know, I'm a passionate person, so I'm gonna say what I say, and I really think that we need to be working more for our library. I really do. So that's what I'm gonna say. So see you later.
Take care.
Okay. Denise, you wanted to talk about marketing.
I apologize. It takes a while to unmute, doesn't it? Well, what I wanted to say is that I think the library is absolutely amazing. I think what we have here is stellar. It's off the charts amazing. And everyone I'm hooking up with the library is just resistant at first, but they are just blown away with, and we don't even know the half of it. But the problem that I am seeing, I don't know if it is a problem, but everywhere I go, I'm asking people about their usage of the library. Now, my circle is very, very tight. I don't go very many places at all, but I do go to Life Source and I do go to Roth Grocery. And every time I ask them, how are you, how are you enjoying the library? How are those digital books working for you? Isn't that great? The movies? And they're just, no, we haven't really done anything with the library since we were kids and had story hour. And they're going to Book Bin and they're complaining about a lot of money they're spending, etc. So I thought it was interesting how few people seem to be using our great services. These are amazing. So first of all, do we have a problem? I mean, do we? Are we getting enough utilization of the library? And if we do have populations that don't use the library, are there ways to capture this? And are there particular populations that we are especially concerned with? With my own guests, I'm seeing a lot of really young people that are not using, and I'm talking young family age. And the reason I think this is kind of important is because they've got kids or will be having kids, and that's another future, of users. So I just wanted to get anybody else's take on that. Is it a problem, first of all?
I can speak to that libraries traditionally struggle with getting people that are not library users into the library, because a lot of library users find out about our services through things like the city website, through our website, through social media. One thing we've had to put on hiatus is we were going to all the first grade classrooms and getting kids hooked up with library cards, but because of COVID, that we kind of had to put that on hiatus. That was a really good way to get families into the library, and we were making sure that all first graders in the city of Salem would have library cards. There are communities that we are not hitting, but we're working now that we're going to be able to have some outreach opportunities. We're going to be going out into the community. That's why we do outreach too, is to like hit places that maybe people can't get to the library. So we're bringing the library to them. And so there has been certainly with our doors closed and the move, there has been less publicity about the library, but summer reading is coming, and that's where we're going to do a big push for our programming and for library services, and we're going to go out to the parks and sign people up for summer reading. So those are, once we bring back the programming, that's going to help a lot with those young families, because that is a free thing that they can do. We also are promoting some new collections, our Library of Things, and then also we have cultural passes now. So I think we'll be getting people in. I think we've been kind of a little sheltered shuttered actually because of COVID, and now we're getting back out there. But we will always appreciate help marketing, right? Because it is hard to market libraries, and it tends to be people that grew up using libraries that are familiar with the services. And so trying to introduce those services, like visiting places like community colleges, visiting places like, rural areas that maybe don't have the library near them, would help. But we do have that ARPA van that we're getting, and that will be used for those kind of outreach events.
So
Go ahead, Catherine.
I have a, a thought. When I was doing planning work and would put together a survey to get them out to the most people possible, we would often put them into sewer and water bills that went out to the city. So they went out for free, or we put them into a property tax bill, in which case it would go out to a whole county. And there's also a logical nexus there, because they're paying for services, and libraries are one of the services. And also we would send them out to kids at school, and they'd put them in the backpack. The kids would put them in the backpack, and the parents would often see them. If we were to do a flyer that included not only the full range of services that are offered to kids, but also adults. A lot of adults don't know about all the programs and services that are offered by the library. And just like a one-pager flyer, that's something that could potentially be distributed in any of those ways, if the city or the county, of course, were willing to include something like this as a flyer, or the school district was willing to include a flyer as a handout. Kids at school get all kinds of handouts all the time that end up in the backpack. So those are a couple ideas that I had, if something like a flyer were put together. Just one thought.
I think the reopening of the auditorium and soliciting performances and soliciting people who will bring groups that will bring in a crowd, and then using that as an opportunity to launch a marketing to the participants who come to events is a strategy that, to me, has been, as we looked at particularly when we were coming up with our statement of the library as a gathering place for the community that we put into the Salem plan, that in other library districts that we looked at, that so very, they use that. That's why I was so upset about a change. I voted against, as you guys may remember, against a change in the room policy because, of my connection to a group that's been meeting there for like 20 years every month. So, I think that really that is a key thing, the auditorium, and inviting diverse groups, like not just, there's like the Marshall Islands people. There, just a whole bunch of different people that are particularly in the northeast section of Salem, where I worked for a long time. So I encourage you to think about outreach to them to utilize the auditorium.
Denise?
To ask about if flyers to common places. There would be the 50 plus center, but boys and girls clubs, a lot of the grocery stores. I know I'd be willing to run around to a lot of the grocery stores with flyers. There are billboards. The book bin downstairs, downtown. A lot of them have big posters where, and why not the library? Does that make sense, or is that an infringement somehow?
I don't know.
Come to the library, get your books for free. Don't need to buy them here.
Yeah, that might be an infringement.
But a lot of the the younger people that I'm running into, they say they don't have time to go down to the library, but they do not know about the digital services and the movies.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference. They don't make that much income, and they're really impressed to see what's available for free.
We've got the World Beat Festival coming up in June, and we have the art fair coming up in June. You could have a booth at both and kind of do a splash out.
Right.
Well, if we had a flyer that kind of showed all the services, then we could use that at the art fair. We could use that at World Beat. We could use that to put in, the bills. We could use that at the auditorium. When somebody books a group, we could say, part of the booking is like, will you distribute this when people come in the door? Because there are a lot of people that use the auditorium that may not have ever come into the library, and it's right there. So that is a really good idea. And there's concerts, there was people playing guitars, all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, and I think any flyer should have a big thing, 3 hours free park, like the parking thing, because a lot of people aren't aware of that change, and that was a huge barrier. 88% of the people said that was a reason they didn't go to the library.
Yes.
They didn't want to feed
and
them.
newly redone library.
Yeah. Come see the new library. So Kim, would that be something?
So our communications team could put together something that's what they do, is they make flyers and the signs and all of that kind of thing. And then it has our branding in it, and it meets our, whatever it's called, the fonts right and all of that stuff. And another thing you could add to that, we have the ability to sign up for library cards online. So you sign up online and then you come in later and get your library card, having a link to that. I think, when you talk about certain demographics, print might not be the way to go. They might be more getting their information digitally. And so finding where they're getting their information digitally. So we're looking at things like TikTok and, those kind of social media outlets for like the next generation, and how that would work. Do we have the staff time to create those types of, if you're using TikTok, you need to create videos fairly often to keep generated interest. And so, that becomes something, is this doable? I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think we're coming into, we were closed, we had COVID, we had the move, we had remodel. Now everything's feels like, at least we hope that everything's kind of getting back to a new normal where we can start offering the things we used to offer, and especially with summer reading coming and more in-person programming planned, I think we're going to have like a real resurgence and interest in the library. We're already seeing, you know, our library card registrations going up immensely, and our digital book use is just, we can't keep up with it. So I'm not saying that we're reaching everybody. I know we could do much more than serve much more people than we are. We only have about, I think it's like 29 active users, 29,000 I mean, active users, and we have a population of about 180,000. So there's a lot of potential to grow our library usage too, right? So I think it takes a lot of different, it's like an octopus. You have to go out at like spread out and do a bunch of different things because you're going to hit different demographics, and you may have to communicate to the same group like several times before you get them in the door. But you know, it's one of those things where repeating the message over and over and hitting people in a lot of different ways with that message really helps a lot, right?
I think your idea in terms of putting things on social media and like TikTok, I'm working with a population of heavy mobile phone users. I mean, all the information comes through there.
Yeah.
And that's where it's got to go.
I bet.
A couple of other good things to mention, I think, are the study rooms, which are new, and also the fact that the teens are upstairs now. There's so many things you could outline, and I agree that there a different media would be good. Some you know, written, some digital. But the piece that the library put out on recommended books is really good. I mean, it just catches your eye. It's so well designed, you know, something like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, the best books of 2021. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and staff put that together. They did it. Yeah, it's a great.
It's great.
You've got staff there that have the foresight. They can see it. They know it. You just need the time and lots of money.
Did they put that on social media, the best books?
Yes.
Yeah. That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we are expanding. We do, COVID willing, plan to expand hours, and we are going to do some marketing in that expansion, including publicizing the teen scene opening up and the hours that will be open. Also, the study rooms will open up, and then the meeting rooms will open up too. So all of that publicity is coming. We're going to do it all at once. We don't want people thinking that we're open when we're not, and that sometimes happens when you send a message out ahead of time. They think, oh, you're doing these hours right now. So we're waiting until we get closer to the April 5th is our date to expand hours. And I think that, you know, with that will come messaging. We're going to have a book sale in May. I think we'll put, you know, we can put flyers in all of the book. I mean, well, not all the books probably, but you know, we can use that as a way to market. So all of those different opportunities, we're going to try to do some programs in Peace Plaza. So that's another way that we think we'll get people, you know, really engaged and excited about using the library, just that space, and reintroducing them to our spaces. But again, and word of mouth is very powerful too. Like, don't underestimate conversations that you have at meetings like this, conversations that you have with your friends. All of those things are important to promote the library.
I applaud you, Denise, for spreading the news where you go and asking people what they do, how they use the library. I think that's a good idea. I don't do that. I probably should, but
well, I would appreciate getting a stack of flyers, and I'll take them to all the grocery stores.
okay.
Let me talk to the communications group about something, a print item for when we expand the hours that that you can access, and then we'll see if we can hook you up with some flyers or some information that you can take around.
Yeah, that's great. And while we're on the subject, it's not really on the subject, it's segueing into a subject of we need another board member. And I've talked to several people and haven't gotten any leads. And we've talked about sort of diversifying our board. I haven't gotten anywhere with that. So please, if you know of anybody, let me know or talk to them about being a board member. Denise, did you have something?
I did send a letter to NAACP. I was a member of that group or am a member of that group. I haven't received anything back yet.
Okay, thank you for doing that. I did talk to a woman who is an Asian woman, but who was raised in Cuba. So she's Asian, but she's bilingual in Spanish. And she also worked for the school district. So she has all this network of like bilingual friends and all this kind of stuff, but she lives in Kaiser. And I don't think that, I think they have to be live in the city of Salem. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, keep asking people. Let's go on to bus stop. I put in the board packet my communication with the Chariots bus service, and I hope you read it. I just want to know should we just leave it? Does it seem like something that like Norm was talking about, inclusivity and being able to have great accessibility to our library? I don't think that the bus stops where they are is very accessible, but what are your thoughts?
My opinion is we need to be as accessible as possible, because if we're going to become more inclusive, restricting the ways to get here into ways to get in here, it's sort of counterproductive.
Well, it's really unfortunate that the layout, that the library is located right between Liberty and Commercial. And each of them are one way and letting people out on the wrong side of the road with multiple lanes that people have to cross. At least on Commercial, there's a place they can cross over. So, they're telling us that there's a physical limitation to what they can do. And I don't know what the solution is. I don't understand what they say about there being a stop at Liberty and Mill that people can use to go to the library. Mill doesn't even cross Liberty.
I think it would be where Mill would come in if it could. It
did come in.
It's past,
which is nowhere near the library.
Well, it's down by, it's past that Board and Basil restaurant. And on Commercial, it's on the other side of the street. Well, what I was wondering is, I'm thinking of just as a next step, going to one of their the Chariots has an advisory board as well as a board of directors. And I'm thinking about going there. I think we'd have to vote that I could represent the library, just to go and say, we're concerned about this and we want to know more about why you did this. I mean, if it has to do with ridership, well, the library's been closed for 2 years. So of course the ridership is down. And ADA, I do have questions about whether really, if you're in a wheelchair and you're going across 4 lanes of traffic where there isn't a light, I would be scared to death.
I wouldn't do it.
I don't think I would. Well, and plus, if you're in a wheelchair, you have a lower visibility. Anyway, I think I'll put that in an action item that we could direct me to represent the board at one of their board meetings, and not just to raise the concern. Like, what, this does not seem like it's increasing accessibility.
And maybe explore any options they might see.
Oh,
Right.
can I make a motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
I move that Lois go to a Chariot's board meeting and put forth the issue of bus stops that are accessible to the library.
All right, is there a second? Francine seconds it. So let's go ahead and vote on it. All in favor, make some kind of sign. All righty, okay, it's done. I'm gonna do it. I
Good
will
work,
be nice.
Lois.
I will be nice. I won't be like I was tomorrow. I'll be very sweet. I'll be like a little librarian. No, we don't have little librarians. We have cool librarians. All right, last item. Oh, whoops, wild ideas. So I asked Kim if she could talk a little bit about, we have 3 top ideas: the seed library, the human library kind of thing, and what was the other one?
Games and puzzles.
Games and puzzles, which might be included, I would think, in the library of things. But Kim, would you
Yeah.
be willing to talk a little bit about
So
that?
I have, on this list, I have adding games and puzzles, which, yes, that will be something that I think will be included in the library of things. We already have a list of kind of some of that kind of stuff anyway. And right now we're in the process of kind of figuring out how we're going to package the items in the library of things and working through the cataloging process. So we expect, we're hoping by June we'll have some ready to go, and it'll be a combination of STEM things and games and those kind of things, like some of those popular games, especially like I can't think of it, like Catan or something, and those kind of things that are kind of expensive games to buy, and you might want to try them ahead of time. And so I think, or having a bundle of puzzles that you could check out at one time in a library of things type of thing is what we're part of what that collection will be, in addition to things like we got a microscope that you attach to a computer. I think we're getting a metal detector. So some of those kind of things too. So yeah, that's probably doable. Mm-hmm.
Question. When we initially talked about this potential wild idea games and things, we didn't, I guess I had envisioned that they would be games and puzzles done in the library.
Oh,
Mostly by younger children, but maybe they could be both. Or were you thinking they would just be checked out?
well, we are
Items?
like, the teen scene does have a puzzle table where people put together a puzzle, and we could add puzzles to the youth area. We have we actually put out the rest of the furniture today. So if you haven't been back into the library, come in and see it. So we do have tables around that we could put puzzles. I don't know that we have necessarily a puzzle table, but we could look at adding things like that for sure. One of the reasons probably that some of those things are gone right now is because of COVID, but we're going to bring stuff like that back. But the teens have a bunch of puzzles and games in their area that they can use in the teen scene too.
What about the feasibility of the sort of checking out a person? I mean, not to take home, of course.
I think as we get closer to where we're doing in-person programming, that's something we could consider down the road. I think right now we're just trying to move into a space where we're getting our feet under us again, our legs under us again, and doing in-person programming. So, you know, we're going to start with kind of summer reading programs. We're going to start with story times. We're going to start with some of those basic programs that we're known for, and then we'll expand for sure into some other types of programming. And that would be a possibility for sure. You know, that might be a really good program to do in multiple ways. I've seen it done now because of COVID, like virtually. So maybe that's something, and that's another thing we're working out, is how can we do programs hybrid so that you could do that, you can do them both virtually and in person. So what will that look like? And that's really one of our goals too, is to be able to provide a program in both ways, right? That's at least one thing that COVID has taught us to do. So it's a possibility. I don't think it could happen right away. I think we need to go through summer and see what our programming looks like and get people, our programming librarians hired, and you know, so that they can work on some of those projects. We have a new adult services librarian starting on the 14th. So, you know, letting her get summer to kind of get into the swing of things, and then working on projects like that. It's an exciting program for sure.
And what about the seed library?
So
if Lab bought, you know, like an old card catalog, or somehow had built or something, I mean, we could fund that part of it, you know, something with lots of drawers. Would that be a difficult thing to monitor as far as staff goes, or what do you see?
It all depends on how you want to do it. I started a seed library in Arizona, and what we did is we created, so we worked with a group of adults with cognitive differences, and they helped us package the seeds and get them ready for people to check out. And then we had dummy barcodes that we just so we could count how many went out. But I don't know that you would need to. We were kind of just curious how much it would be used, but I don't think we would necessarily need to monitor it in that way. We could have it the honor system, and people I think we had them take, I don't know, 5 different types of seeds they could take. We wouldn't want people to bring any seeds back because that becomes a liability. Yeah. But that is something that's relatively not too hard to set up. But at this point, I mean, all of these things are great, but I'd like to hold off until we get a little bit more, you know, past this summer part and summer reading and getting things settled in the library, getting people seeing how our staff, how outreach works and how in-person programming works, and making sure we have the staff to cover everything. And the new library of things is new. The cultural classes are newish. And we just want to, and even the layout of the building and how we do our services is new, because we never had study rooms before. We haven't had an automated, well, I think we had meeting room reservations, but they're a little bit different now. So staff is learning a lot of new things. And so before we put another expectation on them, we want to kind of keep things as status quo as we can as we move through summer and back to normalization. And summer reading, I think this will be the first summer reading that we've had in a couple of years that's actually going to feel more like summer reading. And that's going to be very exciting, but it's also going to be very, we're going to have a lot of people in the building. We're going to have a lot of programs. We're going to have a lot of work to do. So we want to make sure that we're not overtaxing staff too quickly, right? But I think those are all possibilities. I love seed libraries. I think they're great. So, and it, you know, different libraries set them up differently. So some have master gardeners that do the seed library. So I don't know I don't know if anybody knows a master gardener that would want to like coordinate that kind of thing. And
I can
I do.
find out.
Not
I'll
me.
find out. I'll
Not me,
find out.
but yes, I think it's something that a volunteer could
Mhm.
handle, or a couple of volunteers could handle, so that the library wouldn't have to
yeah,
have a big involvement. The thing would be to find a card catalog.
yes.
Would a person advertise in the OLA newsletter, or?
I don't know, because I would think, I just don't know, honestly.
Denise?
If it comes down to the seed catalog, I mean, I saw a card catalog in a shop window. I would be happy to volunteer to do the search for finding the card catalog.
Another thing that I wonder if the city surplus, I mean, what did they do with our old card catalogs? It's probably sitting in some surplus place somewhere.
Gosh, I
bet you're right.
I don't know.
Well, and all the school district has a huge
Schools,
surplus
yeah.
warehouse, and every school had a card catalog, I think. I'm not sure.
Right.
Now, of course, it's all online.
Right.
I would be willing to check with the school district about that. And
I would just like, before we kick anything off though, like we'll need, the library will need time to get through summer. Right. And the good thing is this could be something we kind of uncover during the strategic plan, and it's something that we can implement, right after we figure out what the strategic plans are, right?
well, that was, this whole wild ideas was part of us planning for the strategic plan. If anybody remembers, I do. But that it was part of us planning for the strategic plan, and now I think we're going to finally get going with that. Anyway, I will still check with the school district, just see if they have any,
Sure.
All right, anything else?
Well, then Lois, you can get it and move it in your garage and hold on to it.
Well, I'm not going to, well, maybe. I'll get the information. We'll take it from there. I mean, we could have a new city librarian too. I mean, we don't even know. So, anything else for the good of the order? This has been a nice discussion. I mean, we kind of did some discussion, and that's nice. But we need our people to be here. I think I would like to, I don't need your permission, but I'm going to contact some people that weren't here and see, like what is their interest in continuing on the board.
So Lois, I have a
Good idea.
question. What constitutes an excused absence?
I think it's just if they have called in or emailed in and said that they would not be here.
That doesn't sound like much of an excuse
No.
to me.
Well, that's
Without a
all
reason.
that's all we can go on. I mean, we can't say some excuse is better than another.
Well, we could look at our bylaws and see if we want to be a little more
Our
specific.
bylaws does say that if you miss more than a couple of months,
But only if it's not excused, which is why I ask what constitutes an excuse.
right. Well, for now, why don't I just, I will email someone who hasn't been here for quite a while and see what their plans are. Alrighty. If that's okay with everybody. Denise?
If you need any help calling anybody about those card catalogs, give me a jingle and I'll be happy to divide up some
Okay.
of those with you too.
Thank you, Denise. That's very nice. All right, I'm ready to get my hamburger. So,
And Lois, bright pink in a meeting is great.
Oh,
Zoom meeting.
thank
Bright
you.
and
I
happy.
will
Happy
wear it
color.
every time now.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Good meeting. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being on the board. It's a community service that you're doing. We love you. I love you. I don't know why I said we.